Imagine one fleeting social media post sparking an inferno so fierce it threatens to consume a multi-million-dollar empire. That's the unfolding drama surrounding Meghan Markle's recent, rather peculiar dance video. Allegedly filmed 4 years back during her pregnancy, it's morphed into a global online spectacle. And not in a good way. Your feed is likely saturated with it, reshared, lampooned, or mercilessly dissected. But this isn't just about a cringeworthy clip. It's rapidly escalating into a full-blown public relations disaster, not only for Meghan, but, remarkably, for Netflix, who are said to be seething. Picture this: a hospital room, a visibly pregnant Meghan, attempting some rather unusual gyrations, to a blaring rap track. And there, in the background, is Harry, a shadowy figure, his face conveniently obscured. The entire scene radiates an unsettling, almost bizarre energy. Meghan's contorted movements, those strange little dance-like gestures. What was the intended message? Empowerment? Humor? Raw emotion? It's anyone's guess. What's clear, though, is the immediate, widespread reaction. What on earth did I just witness? Now, for the plot twist. Meghan insists this footage is vintage, a 4-year-old memory. The internet, however, has become a forensic laboratory, meticulously scrutinizing every detail to contradict her. The audio track, Meghan's hairstyle, the sterile hospital decor, even the camera angle. No element is safe from intense public examination. The most glaring inconsistency? Harry's face being hidden. It almost screams a deliberate attempt to conceal the actual filming date, knowing full well a clear shot of him could easily betray the timeline. Yet, true to form, Meghan didn't just upload the video and move on. No, she doubled down. Her camp reportedly frames the video as a bold defiance against her detractors, a declaration of maternal strength and self-expression. While that might sound noble on paper, in practice, it's perceived as another installment in her well-worn narrative of deflection, self-absorption, and perpetual victimhood. Anyone who dared to dislike the video was instantly branded as envious, emotionally stunted, or simply mistaken. This is where Netflix finds itself unwillingly thrust into the fray. Insiders reportedly described the video's release as a complete shock to their system. As the tidal wave of negative feedback swelled, executives supposedly reached out, urging Meghan to remove it. A standard damage control maneuver, right? But Meghan stood firm. The video remains, prominently displayed, as if it were a modern art exhibit. The internal tensions at Netflix are reportedly palpable. Whispers suggest a significant disagreement among senior leaders, including Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters, over how to navigate this monumental blunder. The reason? Meghan isn't just facing online ridicule, it's casting a dark shadow over their own brand, especially with her existing project, With Love Meghan, already struggling for critical acclaim. To compound matters, Meghan is openly expressing her intent to use her forthcoming show as a platform to educate the public on topics like parenting, identity, and motherhood. One can't help but ask, who exactly is requesting this? Netflix is undoubtedly feeling the heat, a direct consequence of aligning themselves with someone who appears to be a magnet for controversy. Sources indicate a quiet panic within the streaming giant, already grappling with dwindling public trust after a series of uninspired releases and controversy-laden content. Meghan was supposed to be their saving grace, a globally recognized name offering a fresh start. Instead, they're now scrambling to contain fires ignited by a single, ill-conceived Instagram post. That's the sheer magnitude of the turmoil we're discussing. The fundamental issue isn't merely the questionable video itself, but Meghan's reaction to the ensuing criticism. Instead of showing even a glimmer of humility, or a simple acknowledgement that, perhaps this wasn't my best idea, she's fully embraced her martyr complex. Every statement, every public comment since the video's debut is reportedly saturated with a disturbing sense of self-importance. She genuinely seems convinced she's being persecuted for merely being herself. "It's my purpose to show the critics who the real parent is," she purportedly declared. One can only respond, "Come again?" The irony here is almost agonizing. While Meghan purports to champion wholesome, nurturing motherhood, her chosen platform is a highly controversial video featuring her dancing rather oddly in a hospital room with a visible baby bump, her husband mysteriously lurking in the background like a character from a psychological thriller. Is this truly the emblem of stable parenthood she wishes to project? Behind the scenes, the ripple effect has extended to her Netflix production. With Love Meghan, originally slated for a second installment, not a full season, just a continuation, is now reportedly facing delayed reshoots, with some segments even being entirely rewritten. There's a growing apprehension that any future footage depicting motherhood or hospital settings will be mercilessly scrutinized by audiences. No one wants their work to become the subject of global derision. Yet, Meghan seems unfazed. She's reportedly stated that expressing herself is how people find their sense of value. This smacks of a severe case of main character syndrome. She's even gone so far as to imply that American society is unhealed and desperately awaits her enlightenment on matters of inner peace and superior parenting. The sheer disconnect from reality feels almost spiritual. Meanwhile, social media has been unrelenting. Comment sections are awash with biting jokes, savage memes, and outright expressions of disgust. Some have labeled it the most awkward clip ever shared by a royal figure. Others have openly questioned its authenticity, suggesting she might have strategically placed a pillow under her dress. Regardless of the truth, the widespread doubt surrounding the video's legitimacy only fuels the fire. And predictably, the longer it remains online, the more intensely people analyze every detail. Each frame, every lyric of the background music, every shadow, every timestamp. Even more damaging for Meghan, this video has completely overshadowed all her other ventures. Any podcast plans, any carefully orchestrated branding initiatives she had hoped to launch have been utterly eclipsed. She's once again become the story, not for her work or her voice, but for a 30-second video that resembles a parody and screams for attention. The most perplexing aspect of this entire saga, Meghan apparently remains convinced she's prevailing. Rather than recognizing the backlash as a clear public rejection of yet another tone-deaf moment, she seems to wear it as a badge of honor. In her mind, the relentless criticism validates her influence. She's convinced the online clamor surrounding her video signifies that she's sparking vital conversations, shifting cultural norms, or whatever convenient narrative she's concocting. But the stark reality is, people aren't engaging out of inspiration. They're talking because they're bewildered, annoyed, and frankly utterly exhausted. What truly infuriates people is her unwavering insistence on reframing this entire ordeal as a self-empowerment crusade. Meghan continually asserts her status as a mature woman, proud to express herself, with an undeniable right to present her interpretation of motherhood to the world. And that's fine. But the core issue isn't about rights, it's about judgment. When you occupy such a prominent public position, especially one tethered to a multi-million-dollar Netflix contract, a fundamental understanding of what resonates and what doesn't is crucial. And this video, it crash-landed like a lead balloon. Critics aren't denying her capacity as a mother or a media personality. They're simply suggesting perhaps that posting a borderline bizarre dance video from a hospital bed and then using it as a springboard for lectures on parenting and jealousy might not be the wisest course of action. There's a stark disjunction there, and it's precisely what's causing widespread discomfort. You cannot preach authenticity while delivering something that feels so painstakingly contrived and performative. This perpetual chasm between her proclaimed authenticity and her undeniably staged public actions has solidified into a defining characteristic of her image. Every pronouncement, every new project, now feels meticulously filtered through this lens of strategic self-promotion rather than genuine connection. It's as if the boundary between who she truly is and who she wants us to believe she is has completely dissolved, leaving audiences with a pervasive sense of unease. And this critical scrutiny extends even to the most minute details, such as the actual age of a video clip. That kind of fundamental mistrust, once established, is incredibly difficult to mend, and it casts a long shadow over everything that follows. For Netflix, the stakes have become astronomically high. This extends far beyond a single production. It touches upon their overarching strategy for attracting elite talent and generating captivating content. They poured in millions, banking on the global allure of a former royal and a compelling backstory. Now, they're navigating a public relations quagmire that directly impacts their brand reputation. The core question is no longer just about content, quality, but about the inherent risk associated with the talent they choose to champion. They are now uncomfortably linked to someone who consistently, and often self-inflictedly, ignites controversy, a precarious position for any major media entity. The public's patience, too, is evidently wearing thin. What began as widespread fascination, then evolved into heated debate, is now largely characterized by sheer exhaustion. The narrative has become painfully repetitive. Meghan makes a dubious move, digs in her heels, claims victimhood, and then attempts to lecture the world. This cycle has become utterly predictable, tiresome, and ultimately disengaging for many who once eagerly followed her journey. Audiences crave evolution, growth, and genuine engagement, not an endless loop of the same self-serving drama. The choppy reservoir of public goodwill, once overflowing, is rapidly depleting. One can't help but ponder the composition of her inner circle. Is she surrounded by yes men who reinforce her every decision, regardless of how ill-advised? Or is there a deeper, more profound disconnect between her self-perception and how the world actually perceives her? The advice she's reportedly receiving to amplify her voice, to press forward relentlessly, appears entirely counterproductive to effective crisis management. It strongly suggests an echo chamber, where reality is twisted to fit a pre-existing narrative rather than adapting to undeniable public sentiment. The enduring damage from incidents like this extends far beyond one video or one television series. Each time a prominent public figure dismisses widespread criticism as mere hatred or jealousy, it actively erodes trust. It implicitly tells audiences that their legitimate concerns are irrelevant, painting them as unhealed rather than acknowledging valid critiques. This pattern, consistently reinforced, creates an insurmountable divide between the public figure and their potential audience, rendering any future endeavors, no matter how earnest, inherently questionable. There's also the subtle yet potent criticism surrounding what many are now labeling performative activism. When every personal choice, every moment of perceived vulnerability, every supposed life lesson is immediately curated and presented for mass consumption, often with a clear underlying agenda, its impact is diminished. Authenticity isn't a declaration, it's an embodiment. And when the message feels meticulously engineered, designed more for superficial impact than for genuine connection, the audience can instinctively sense it. This video, in particular, feels like a quintessential example of something utterly contrived, engineered to provoke a specific reaction, only to backfire spectacularly. The media landscape has undergone a seismic shift. Audiences are far more sophisticated, more critical, and possess immediate access to diverse perspectives and rigorous fact-checking. The era of a public figure dictating their narrative unchallenged is definitively over. Every social media post, every public statement is instantly dissected, analyzed, and frequently subjected to widespread mockery. Meghan's approach, seemingly rooted in an outdated model of celebrity control, simply doesn't translate effectively in this hyper-transparent, often unforgiving digital age. She appears to be operating by old rules in a fundamentally new game, and the outcomes are consistently self-defeating. Ultimately, the nagging question persists. Why? What compels these choices that so consistently alienate a significant portion of the public? Is it a profound need for control, an unyielding desire to constantly shape the narrative, or something far more complex? Whatever the underlying motivation, it appears to consistently override any practical PR considerations or long-term career strategy. This incident, much like previous ones, hints at a recurring pattern of self-sabotage, where the perceived necessity of being right eclipses the considerable benefits of being relatable or simply, well, genuinely liked. The sheer volume of social media commentary has created a digital echo chamber, not necessarily for Meghan, but around her. Every fresh detail, every new rumor, every piece of speculation is immediately amplified, dissected, and reinterpreted countless times over. This relentless cycle of online engagement means the story rarely dies. Instead, it constantly mutates and finds new life, feeding the very public fascination that fuels the controversy. It's a digital beast that once unleashed is nearly impossible to control, further complicating Netflix's attempts to manage the narrative. Consider the financial implications for Netflix beyond just the production costs. Public perception directly impacts subscriber numbers and advertising revenue. If a key talent becomes synonymous with controversy and perceived inauthenticity, it creates a ripple effect across the entire platform. The brand itself starts to carry the baggage, making it harder to attract other sought-after creators who might be wary of similar negative associations. This bizarre dance video, then, isn't just an isolated gaffe. It's a crack in the foundation of a carefully constructed public image. Furthermore, this whole ordeal highlights a critical lesson for any public figure. The illusion of control is just that, an illusion. In the age of instant dissemination and perpetual scrutiny, carefully crafted narratives can crumble in seconds. Meghan's apparent belief that she can dictate how her actions are perceived, even when those actions are widely seen as contradictory or performative, is a dangerous miscalculation. The public, especially online, no longer passively consumes. They actively participate in shaping the narrative, often with brutal honesty. The royal connection, while somewhat removed now, still looms large. For many, Meghan's actions are inevitably filtered through the lens of her former royal life, and the comparisons, fair or unfair, are constant. This adds another layer of complexity, as her missteps are not just seen as personal failings, but, for some, reflect on the institution she once represented. This inherited scrutiny means that even an Instagram post from a hospital room carries an unspoken weight, amplifying the reaction and deepening the public's investment in the drama. Ultimately, this ongoing saga isn't just about a cringy video or a celebrity in crisis. It's a fascinating, if painful, case study in modern public relations meltdown. It demonstrates how quickly online sentiment can turn, how difficult it is to regain trust once lost, and the perilous tightrope walk that streaming giants like Netflix must navigate when investing in high-profile yet unpredictable talent. The outcome remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: this bizarre dance has set the stage for a much larger and far more costly drama. Netflix, meanwhile, continues its delicate tightrope walk. Executives are embroiled in closed-door discussions, grappling with the critical question of whether this partnership remains financially and reputationally viable. What was initially envisioned as a pristine, brand-enhancing content play has devolved into an optics nightmare. Whispers within the company suggest a growing desire to scale back, diminish her presence, redirect focus to other projects, or perhaps even fully disassociate from the brand. Yet Meghan, according to reports, is digging in deeper. She intends to amplify her podcast efforts, convinced that now is the opportune moment to be louder, not quieter. The swiftness of this reversal is astonishing. Just a year ago, Meghan was successfully cultivating a seemingly safe public rebrand, emphasizing wellness, motherhood, and empowerment, a relatively low-risk strategy. Now she's back to being a lightning rod. And the truly tragic aspect is that this isn't due to an external expose. It's entirely self-inflicted. She chose to post that video. She chose to disregard Netflix's urgent plea to remove it. And she chose to distort legitimate public feedback into an imagined battle against her womanhood. Public trust is an exceedingly fragile commodity. Once shattered, it's an arduous task to rebuild, especially when criticism is met with defensiveness rather than genuine introspection. And that's precisely where Meghan seems to be trapped. She's caught in a cyclical pattern where every misstep is reframed as proof of her resilience, and every blunder becomes a profound lesson for the rest of humanity. But beyond a certain point, it ceases to be inspiring and becomes utterly draining. As of now, the video remains online. The backlash persists. Netflix is discreetly reevaluating its marketing strategies. And Meghan? She's reportedly preparing for more pronouncements, more monologues, more "this is who I really am" moments. Perhaps she truly believes the storm will eventually subside. Perhaps she genuinely sees this as just another dramatic chapter in her inevitable comeback story. But for those observing from the sidelines, it feels less like a resurgence and significantly more like a very public, very avoidable meltdown.